All right, so sort of a crazy busy weekend. So much stuff coming out. There was the finale of The Walking Dead, Dead City. I need to make a video about that. Oppenheimer. Need to make a video about that. The Dragon Prince season 5 came out. Need to make a video about that. But for this one, we'll start with Barbie. Barbie, or as I like to call it, the Ken movie. The Ken movie was pretty good. The Barbie movie was okay. I think my biggest critique of this movie, which we'll just brief recap. Barbie Land is where the Barbies and Kens live. The Barbies have essentially a matriarchal society where they're in control of government, industry, and everything. The Kens are second-class citizens who essentially live to be noticed by the Barbies. So, in a sort of fun, allegorical parallel to our world, this is a matriarchy. Our world, generally patriarchy. But of course, Barbie Land, in all of its colorful, zany extremism, is much, much more of a matriarchy than the real world is a patriarchy. Because obviously, in the real world, women have made great strides, right? There's still inequality, but unlike Barbie Land, where the Supreme Court is entirely female, our Supreme Court has several female justices. We have female CEOs of major corporations. Women are in the workplace. Women are generally more educated and are getting higher education degrees and jobs at a higher rate than men in our world. So the parallels are not entirely spot on because, of course, here we've made a lot of progress. Whereas in Barbie Land, the Kens are absolutely second-class citizens. They don't even have houses, right? The Barbies have houses, and there's kind of a funny scene where Ken, played by Ryan Gosling, who's phenomenal, and he's talking with Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, played by Margot Robbie. He asks if he can spend the night. And there's a kind of a funny sex joke, and that she's like, and do what? And he doesn't know. But it's girls' night. Every night is girls' night. It's like, so he's excluded. And essentially, this is the theme. Ken is sort of excluded, not given the attention or affection he needs to survive. And really, he's so codependent that he has no center other than what Barbie thinks of him. So when they go to the real world, because things are going wrong for her for some reason, it's a mystery. They go to the real world, which is just something you can do in this. They don't mess around too much with like explaining things or how it works. But he starts to notice that in the real world, this inequality doesn't exist. Men are actually treated with respect. Men have positions of power, and he becomes enamored with the patriarchy. His version of the patriarchy is actually kind of adorable. He thinks it's pretty much just like driving fast cars and riding on horses and drinking brewski beers and living in his Mojo Dojo casa house, which is all fairly harmless. And really all the Ken stuff for me works really well. Creating a parallel, an allegorical parallel to our world, showing how inequality can lead to reactionary politics and to revolution, and showing how, in a society where only one group has all the power can lead to, those things, revolution, whatever, and how it becomes, Barbie Land becomes Kendom, and the Kens take over really quickly, and I don't know. All of that to me, if you're going to have politics in a movie like this, I think works great. Where it stops working is everywhere else. All of the heavy-handed, ham-fisted politics that they bring into the rest of this movie, which pretty much equate to exposition dumps. All the sort of clever, funny stuff that's going on with Ken and the Kens, and all that stuff is well done. But then you get speeches about how hard it is to be a woman. You get kind of all this like go girl power, men are stupid stuff, and that doesn't work as well. I wrote an article about this talking about how less overt politicking in this movie would be more effective. The reaction to this article has been a whole bunch of people saying things like, well, of course a man would say this. Of course a man would, oh, look at this white cis male talking about how the Barbie movie should be less political, less feminist. Oh, look, he writes for Forbes. He must be this, oh, yeah, yeah. The reaction to my article is basically from people who didn't read it. But the point of the article is simply this. We want good stories, and if those stories have a political message or cultural themes that they want to explore, that's great. But if you just beat people over the head with that, you probably lose a lot of people in the process. Now, if you want to change hearts and minds through your film, through your art, through your arguments, you have to do it in a way that actually can reach people. And I think the sort of endless beating us over the head with the political messaging in Barbie was a rhetorical mistake. I think that it's preaching to the choir is what I think. So anybody who goes to that movie thinking, already having these beliefs in feminism and in the patriarchy and whatever, anyone who goes to that with those beliefs is going to say, yeah, that made sense. But anyone who doesn't have those beliefs is going to walk away without being convinced of the argument, because it's not clever enough. It's way too in your face. I genuinely liked the movie. I think the leads did a great job, and I think there were some very funny bits, including some musical numbers, and I'm a sucker for a good musical number. But if I were less amenable to the ideas presented in the movie, I think it would have been a huge turnoff. I'm generally all for more equality and more equality of the sexes and all of that stuff. Very, very pro equality. So I'm not a hard sell. But there'll be a lot of people, I think, who go to this movie and think, wow, that was just way more heavy-handed than I was expecting. Because it really was marketed like kind of a light, fun romp. A lot of people said, oh, I thought it was going to be like Enchanted. Yeah, they could see why, based on the trailers. Instead, it's a deeply, deeply political movie. And, they have every right to make a movie like that if they want to make a really, really heavy-handed political movie that's just constantly beating us over the head with, how tough women have it and how bad the patriarchy is. That's fine. But I think using the more subtle allegorical story of Ken and the matriarchy, that could have been a really great way to just kind of nudge people along. Show look, when people are treated like second-class citizens, whether they're men or whether they're women or whoever they are, this leads to problems. And, and I do think that some of the resolution between Barbie and Ken and her telling him that, he needs to go be himself. And then he has that sweater that's I am Kenough, which was beautiful. I think that stuff was great. And I think that if the movie had, again, tended towards that more, towards a more personal story, that wasn't just quite as relentlessly, I don't want to say anti-male. It made fun of women and men, so I don't think I think a lot of the it was so anti-male stuff is not exactly true. And it was a fairly gentle ribbing for the most part, like mansplaining The Godfather. That was pretty funny. There's some good jokes. But really, if you really think about it, the Barbies were kind of terrible. And, when Barbie is first experiencing her existential crisis, cellulite on her leg and her feet going flat, it's the other Barbies who are sort of cruel and mocking to her, not the Kens. So, I don't know. I feel like it was a little all over the place, and I feel like it just suffered from telling rather than showing, and we would have had a better movie if it kept those. It wouldn't have to change the themes, but if it made them more subtle so that it could have reached a wider audience. Again, a lot of people who reacted to my article on this subject are like, oh, of course you'd want to get rid of the politics, or of course you'd want to make it so subtle that you didn't have to notice them. That's a very aggressive interpretation of my argument. Of course, you have to read the argument in order to have an interpretation of it. But no, I'm fine with the politics presented in this movie. I just think that they would be better served in a more subtle, more easy to digestible script. That's just me. I think it's a missed opportunity to have a clever, effective feminist message in a movie like this that isn't just like speechifying, preaching, and instead we get a very preachy, still clever and creative, but very preachy movie that I don't think, like Enchanted I've seen like a dozen times probably, and I don't think I'll probably ever watch Barbie again, although maybe a couple of the scenes, because there are some very funny scenes. The use of Matchbox 20, hilarious. The beach off stuff, hilarious. And there was a lot of good stuff in here, and I just wish that they had leaned more heavily into that so that they could have snuck that message in rather than just, taking a sledgehammer and trying to bash it into our heads instead. So that's my take on Barbie, which I liked more than I thought I would. Let me know what you think or thought of the movie if you've seen it down in the comments. I know that for a lot of YouTubers out there, it's very profitable to just like dog on this movie and call it woke trash and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it was. I think it did a lot of things right. I just think that they took it too far and entered into that realm of like, now you're preaching at me. I don't like to be preached to. It's much better if you can tell a great story that makes me think, that makes me question the world a little bit, rather than just saying to me, hey, this is how it is. And, whatever. Anyways. Okay. I'm going to make some more videos. Again, I need to talk about Oppenheimer. I need to talk about The Walking Dead, Dead City, and some other stuff. So, Dragon Prince, Season 5. So, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment. I'm always interested in hearing everyone's thoughts. Peace.